Hi, Dad. This is Jeremiah. I have a question. Is there such a thing as spiritual time management? I've heard principles of time management, and I'm wondering if time management also applies in a spiritual way.
Hi, Jeremiah. That's a really great question. I'm going to answer your question and do it in such a way that it can be helpful to other people. So I'll talk to you, but at the same time, I'm talking to everybody about spiritual time management. God is not subject to time. He is the creator of time and the creator of everything. He is outside of time in his perfect stillness. He created time so that there could be movement and change and effects of all kinds. And so time is a creative thing. It is the way in which things grow and change and develop and transfer and translate from one thing to another. It's also destructive in that change can be both positive and negative. It can be destructive. And it's not necessarily destructive in a bad way. For example, you have a tree, and in time the tree grows, and it produces leaves, and it produces fruit, and it is good. And then at a certain point, the tree dies, and the leaves and the branches and the roots, they begin to fall apart, and they become compost for the next generation of trees. But I want you to see that the soul of man is like an observer, and we were made to wander through this life and to observe things and discover things and realize things and know more and more about the Creator and His greatness and His genius and His love, and perhaps we might be able to do some good. At least we can express truth in time. So time is the medium in which we exist and in which we can move and have our being. So it is good. But the soul ultimately belongs to the Creator and to the realm of the Creator, the timeless realm. And the soul is in the body, but it is not of the body. The soul is a metaphysical thing, and actually an eternal thing. The soul is. And eternal in the sense of from the timeless realm, not subject to time. Now, when the soul is placed in the body, God places it in the body and gives it life. And that is our place. That is where our soul is to be, in our body, with the people around us who we are to be with, our family and so on. And in a certain time and a certain place and for a certain purpose. But ultimately, we were meant for greater things. And the greater thing, of course, is to be with our Creator. But during the time that we have upon this earth, we are given time. And if more time is needed to do what God has for us to do, according to His will, then we will be given more time. He will give us the time that we need. But if a person, which happens to most people, if they fall away from awareness of their Creator, they fall away from awareness of principle, and they err, and then in their erring, they don't want to see that they erred. And so they begin to want to hide. Remember in the Garden of Eden? Remember how Adam kind of tried to hide from God? Well, it's the same thing. You go out in the world and you fail. Where you could have been patient, you're impatient. Where you could have overlooked, you judged. Where you could have been selfless, you were selfish, and so on. And where you could have been patient, you were impatient. Can you see that impatience is a sign that you have fallen away from your ground of being? You have fallen into time, into space, you have fallen into it and become subject to it. You know how people get deeply into their alcohol and they get drunk, and people get lost in thoughts and worries and fears, and they're so totally lost in their thoughts. So do you see how people are absorbed into matter, absorbed into things, into substance, and away from the rarefied stance of observer that we were meant to have? So we forget our Creator, and we become lost in matter, to which we become subject. So you don't want to be lost in anything. You don't want to be lost in worries, in fears, in making anything too important. You don't want to get lost in other people's problems. You don't want to get lost in trying to figure things out. You don't want to get lost in your food, in your drink, in your texting, in your internet, even in your work. Work is a useful thing. Yes. But you don't want to be lost in it. And how do you get lost in it? You fall away from awareness of your Creator. And something in it gets to you. Something gets to you. Or somebody gets to you. And then you chase after them to try to prove something to them. To try to get a good image of yourself in their eyes. To try to make up for what you didn't do properly. To try to get them to admit something. See, they're very clever. They never want to admit they're wrong. If they did you wrong, they won't admit it because they know you'll keep chasing after them. And they know that it'll prey upon your mind. And anything that you make too important pulls you away from your Creator. So Christ told us what to do. He said, forgive. Don't resent other people. When you resent someone, you leave something of yourself out there in the world. And then you try to recoup what you lost out in the world. And you lose even more. You don't want to lose yourself in the world, a piece of yourself. They go away with a piece of you, and then you chase after them. If you get something that you shouldn't have, if you abandon principle and do something wrong in order to get something, then you're never going to be happy with it. And it has a piece of you, and then it becomes even more important because you are it. Even if you have a car and you make it too important, then if there's a dent on your car, it's almost as if you had gotten a dent on yourself. Do you understand? So do you see how you begin to identify with things? Anything that you hate, anything that you lust, anything that you want, anything that you fear, anything that you do wrong, anything that you want to escape into. So because of our mistakes, because of our errors, we don't want to see it. That's our mistake. If you made a mistake, okay, it's not so bad you made a mistake. Just see it. Bear the little bit of pain, the little embarrassment of seeing you're wrong, admit it in God's light, and then you can be reconciled back to Him again. But if you don't want to admit that you made a mistake, then you will try to escape from God's light. Escape from Him, that's your mistake. So I think you got the idea. But when you do escape, you become subject to everything, including time. And then all of a sudden, time is no longer your friend. Now you dread time because you see time slipping away. You don't have enough time, and you rush faster. And the faster you move, the less time you have, and the more futility you feel because you're not aligned with your Creator's will. Do you understand? And so you become subject to time and to the ravages of time, and you deteriorate faster. And so you must refine your Creator and find your purpose for existence. And then He will give you time. He will give you time to discover what you need to discover. And He will give you what you need. Look to your Creator. And He will rescue you. And He will save you. And He will give you time. And He will give you peace of mind. And He will show you how to exist. You don't know how now. You're so used to being emotional. That's another way you get lost. Lost in your emotions, lost in feelings, lost in sensations. He will show you how to be. He will show you how to exist. He'll show you how to relate to your family. He'll show you how to relate to food properly. He'll show you everything. He will show you everything. Look to God.